How you doing, guys? Big Mac School here again today, back once again with another tutorial mission for you. Today we're going to be going through tutorial mission 4, and that is all about heroic combat. We've got our first hero in use. This is Lieutenant Gideon. You may notice in the battle report I call him Lieutenant Calcius sometimes. That is, just a slip of the tongue. I don't know who this Lieutenant Calcius is, but Lieutenant Gideon is the Imperial Fist Lieutenant that I'll be using in this battle report. Yes, so heroic combat, there's some extra things to think about. So in heroic combat, basically, the lieutenant can affect other units. He has what's known as an aura effect. As a lieutenant, Gideon has an ability called tactical precision. Friendly units with at least one model within 6 inches of Gideon can reroll wound rolls of 1. It doesn't say that's for close combat attacks or for shooting attacks, so I'm going to be rolling it for both close combat and shooting attacks. You cannot re-roll the dice a second time, even if it is another 1. Another thing to think about is that Gideon, I don't know who this Calcius is. Gideon has a power sword. The power sword basically cuts through armour. It negates your opponent's armour in a really cool way. And it means they only have a saving throw of 6 up if they've got power armour. So the Plague Marines will only have a saving throw of 6 up. But yes, that's about everything you need to know. Oh no, there is one more thing in this mission. If a unit of Poxwalkers is wiped out, they will come onto the battlefield or redeploy onto the battlefield in their deployment zone. So over here, in their movement phase, and then they'll be able to move and stuff. So with this mission, there's an endless supply of Poxwalkers, or a near endless supply, depending on how many turns the game lasts. Let's crack on with the first one and see how we get on. So guys, you can see in front of you now the 2 forces that are going to be taking part in this battle report. We've got Lieutenant Calcius miniature here, which is Lieutenant Gideon to the Imperial Fists. He's the first character we've got in Conquest. And then we've got the intercessors behind there, and on the Death Guard side we've got 6 Poxwalkers and 3 Plague Marines. Let's roll off to see who goes first. Grab my dice, switch hands. So the green dice represents the Plague Marines, or the Death Guard rather, and the white dice the Imperial Fists. And the green dice gets a 3, the white a 2, so that means the Death Guard are going to go first. Interestingly, in this mission, I'll just show you the text here, if I can. It says every model in the unit is then deployed within 2 inches of the edge of this model's base. On the previous mission it said each model has to be wholly within 4 inches of one of these markers, or just within 4 inches of one of these markers, but now the deployment rules have slightly changed. So each model now has to be sort of surrounding this initial model. It's not wholly within 2 inches, it's just within 2 inches. So on the previous mission you could have, for example, as long as they were within 4 inches, he could have been more than 2 inches away from him, but in this mission now they have to deploy all within 2 inches of the first model. So that's the first Death Guard unit deployed, and the first Space Marine unit will deploy somewhere. What do I want to do here? I think I'll put him in the middle, the same way I did the Reavers last time. The Poxwalkers are next deployed. I'll pop them over here. I was trying to send the Poxwalkers around the edge of the battlefield here. As long as they're within 2 inches of the first guy, then that is going to be okay. I'll just get my handy marker that Kiblam's made here. Craig came from Kiblam's. Yeah, they're all within 2 inches there. So then it's back over to the intercessors. Yeah, so the intercessors are over there now. The Death Guard have deployed solely, like so. And that's it. So let's get a nice sweeping shot for you. In this mission, as the Death Guard are ambushing the Imperial Fists, the Death Guard gets to take the first turn. So, what will I do first? I think what I'll do is advance the Poxwalkers, so I'll grab a dice and roll it. they will move an extra 3 inches, so that's going to be 7 inches altogether. Going to be just shy of halfway there. So this guy's going to move to about there, and then the rest will move around him. And then the Death Guard, Plague Marines rather, will move into a firing position against these intercessors, I think. Or will they move up the centre of the battlefield, perhaps? Not too sure. Let's find out. You get to move 5 inches. So we get to move just to the other side of those barrels there. They don't really want to be charged by the intercessors, though. That's the only thing. So they're just going to move into a firing position over towards the edge of the battlefield there. They're going to try and stay as far back from the intercessors as possible. Right, so now it's on to the shooting phase. So the Death Guard miniatures. Yeah, another thing as well to note is, last mission I said I don't think they want you to use the extra rules. But if you look at this first sentence here. If you look at this first sentence here, gather your map rules, dice, and extra rules from previous replay articles. So they do want you to use the extra rules. So I will be using the extra rules for the plasma weapons and the blight launchers and stuff. Right, and that means the bolter guy. Just checking line of sight here with this straight edge. They all have a line of sight to that, at least that widest guy there. So the bolter guy is going to try and shoot him first. And he is going to hit on 3s, and he's going to wound on 4s. Oh, he fails to wound. So now the guy with the plasma gun is going to do the same. He's going to hit on 3s. He hits, and he's going to wound on 2+. He wounds, excellent stuff. And then the Space Marine intercessor will get a save. It's going to be saving on a 3+. He saves. So it's interesting with the extra rules, because I know more rules than are provided in this, so I have to keep checking the extra rules to see which rules they've given us so far. But there's one more weapon to shoot from the Plague Marines anyway, and that is the Blight Launcher. The Blight Launcher is an interesting one. It's only a 5+ save that the Space Marines get, so he's hitting on 3s, hits, and he's going to be wounding on 4s, wounds. So then it's a 5+ save for the Space Marines. Fails a save. Could have done with that on one of the previous, and then we could have killed him this turn. So that is a wound on one of the intercessors. I need to locate my wound markers here. So this intercessor has a wound. And that is the end of the first turn for the Death Guard. Oh, I forgot to put my turn marker there, so there it is. So now it's the Imperial Fist first turn. What I'll do is just measure quickly, 6 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 inches is to that window there. These guys are going to move up. Remember your wound marker, fella. And also, the Lieutenant Gideon will move up as well. He's going to move up over that way and get away from the Poxwalkers that are coming down this side. And they'll all shoot now as well. The Gideon will fire his bolt pistol to start, and he's going to hit on 3s. He fails to hit. Now these miniatures, let's check if they are in rapid fire range, the intercessors. Yes, they are. Easily in rapid fire range of those Plague Marines. So they get 6 shots into the Plague Marines. Grabbing myself 6 dice. 6 shots into the Plague Marines. They are going to hit on 3s. And they almost all hit. And they're going to wound on 5s. They get 2 fail to wound, 2 that will be re-rolled because they're within 6 inches of Lieutenant Gideon, and 1 wound. So that is 2 wounds in total. So that re-roll came in handy. 2 wounds on the Plague Marines there. So now the Plague Marines get a 3-up save. Both made. So no wounds taken by the Plague Marines there. Now, let's see how far Gideon is from those guys, because Gideon would like to charge. He is just within charge range. But the Intercessors are going to charge first, I think. Or should the Intercessors move up into a different firing position? I don't know. Now the Intercessors are going to stay there this turn, and so is Gideon. So now it's on to turn 2 for the Death Guard. In turn 2 for the Death Guard, the Poxwalkers, let me measure this distance. It's just over 12 inches at the minute, so that's 4 to there. That'll give them a 9-inch charge required. Let me have a quick think. I think they will try and charge. Will it be 9 inches actually? Because they've got a guy there, they could charge into the Intercessors if they wanted to. It'll be 8 inches for the Intercessors. I'll tell you what the Poxwalkers are going to do. They're going to move to here. Oh. They've all got to remain within 2 inches of each other. So let's just double check this. At least within 2 inches of at least one other miniature. Yeah, they all are. And then the Plague Marines will start moving over this way. Tell you what, the Plague Marines are going to take a step back. They get a 5-inch move. So let's try and get them further back. As far back as possible. So back to where they came from almost, just to try and pull those Intercessors away from Calcius if they can. And now the Plague Marines are going to shoot. So we're going to start off with the bolt gun. He's going to hit on 3s, and he is going to wound on 4s. Fails to wound. Now it's onto the plasma gun. He's going to hit on 3s. Oh, misses. Luckily he didn't roll a 1 though, otherwise that model would be destroyed. And then it's onto the Blight Launcher. He's going to hit on 3s. Hits, and he's going to wound on 4s. Wounds, and now the Marines need a 5-up save. Failed again, so that is 1 dead Intercessor over this side. This guy is gone. So the Death Guard are having a little more success in this mission than they did in the previous one. So now the Poxwalkers will attempt to charge here onto the Intercessors. Best way to measure it, I think, is like so. So that's going to be a 6-inch charge. It's not too bad. But the Intercessors, at least one of them, can draw line of sight onto the Poxwalkers, so that means they get to fire Overwatch. So the Intercessors get to fire Overwatch. It's within 12 inches, so that's rapid fire Overwatch as well, meaning they get double the amount of shots. There are only 2 left though, so it's going to be 4 shots in total, hitting on 6s. Oh, 2 hits. That is, ooh, that is a cheeky little one. So 2 hits, so the Poxwalkers need to make 2 5-up saves here, otherwise that's 2 dead Poxwalkers. Oh, 1 save, 1 dead. So the Poxwalker player, the Death Guard player, would get to choose, so he'd obviously choose the back one. He doesn't want to make that charge any harder than is necessary. That's 1 dead Poxwalker. And then the charge roll for the Poxwalkers. They need to get 6 inches. Oh. Oh no, it's only 5 inches. Let's just double check that, see if he can get within an inch with that 5-inch charge. No, he's just outside there. The 6 inches would have just got him in there, but he is just outside of charge distance there. So the Poxwalkers take 1 wound and don't make the charge. So that means it's on to Imperial Fist's turn 2. And let's see what they will do. The interesting thing is, the Death Guard can't shoot at the Lieutenant because he's a character. They can only shoot at a character if it's the nearest model to them. However, yeah, it's so I have to really keep the Intercessors between or closer to the Death Guard Plague Marines than Lieutenant Calcius. So the Intercessors, I think, will keep moving up the battlefield to the Plague Marines, and Calcius may just come over here and deal with the Poxwalkers himself, I think. And the mission is to try and take out Calcius for the Death Guard. The Imperial Fist goal is to try and keep Calcius alive, basically. So, onto the Imperial Fist turn 2, like I said. Calcius will come over towards... Oh, will he? No, I think the Imperial Fist... He's just going to... he's going to move up with the Intercessors, I think. But the Intercessors are going to move first anyway, up to the Blam sign there. So they're just going to move up to the barrel there. And then Calcius will move up with them. Just shy of halfway there. Just shy of halfway, I said. And then move him right over the line. Yep, so that's where they are now. And the Intercessors will take some shots at... should they take shots at the Poxwalkers, perhaps? Yeah, let's try and thin out the ranks of the Poxwalkers. So the Intercessors are going to get 4 shots because of rapid fire into the Poxwalkers. And they're going to hit on 3s. That is 1 fail to hit, but the rest hit. They're going to wound on 3s as well, with re-rolling 1s because they're within 6 inches of Lieutenant Gideon. That is a 2, so that doesn't get a re-roll, but then there's 2 saves to be made, disgusting the resilience for the Poxwalkers. Both made, absolutely fantastic saving from the Poxwalkers. And Gideon now has only got 1 option, because he can't see any of those Poxwalkers. Gideon's going to have to shoot into the Plague Marines and hope he manages to strip a wound off one of those guys. He's going to hit on 3s, hits, and he's going to wound on 5s. Wounds. The Plague Marine gets a 3-up save to start. Fails it, so he gets disgusting and resilient. Oh, fails that as well. It's only a 2, so one of the Plague Marines now is dead. I'm going to go for the worst weapon, which is the Bolter. Get rid of him. So, stripping off those wounds there. Now there's less of a threat to Calcius for sure, or not Calcius, sorry, Gideon for sure. But it's on to turn 3 for the death. No, it's not, because the Intercessors can charge if they want to. If the Intercessors charge, they can tie up the Plague Marines in combat. So they might as well, you know, because then the Plague Marines can't take on Calcius. Or should they tie up the Poxwalkers? That's the interesting thing, because Calcius has a good weapon to take on the Plague Marines. Let's have a see. Let's have a look at the range. What I might do... Oh, it's a 10-inch charge there for Calcius, so it's a long charge. What I'm going to do is leave the Intercessors where they are and attempt to charge with Calcius. Now, my understanding of the rule here is, if Calcius is to charge, he's still not the nearest model to the Plague Marines, so they can't actually fire Overwatch. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below, but it's a bit of a tricky situation because we're playing with limited rules. So Calcius is going to attempt a 10-inch charge. Look at that. He's done it. A 10-inch charge with no Overwatch, as far as I can tell. Let's just get my measuring device again there, because really he needs to go round those units, doesn't he? Yeah, I'd say he still makes it into combat with that guy, even going around those 2 units, so he gets to about there. Absolutely fantastic dice rolling from Calcius. And now that means he gets his close combat attacks. Now that he's made the charge though, should I pile in with the Intercessors? Just to try and see off the Poxwalkers a little bit quicker. Should I try and get them in as well? You know what, I feel like I might as well at this stage. Or I could charge them into the Poxwalkers. No, I'll leave it as is. I'm going to see how Calcius does just by himself. I think he can take on these Plague Marines alone. He will get 4 attacks in close combat, so let's grab them dice, 4 dice. Get rid of that one. 4 attacks in close combat, and that will be hitting on 2s, because he's a combat badass. Oh, just 1 missed. He will be wounding on 5s. Re-rolling 1s to wound as well then. Oh, 2 fail to wound, but that one with a 5, he wounds, and the Death Guard only gets 6+ save because he's got a power sword. So the Death Guard need a 6-up save, and then if they fail that, they need to roll Disgusting and Resilient. Failed that, so Disgusting and Resilient now for this first Death Guard model. Fails it, so there is another Death Guard miniature taken out of action. Should I get rid of this guy? Or this guy? This guy's got a better close combat weapon because he's in combat with Calcius. I'd like to use that. So now this Death Guard miniature will attack back, but he only gets 1 attack. He's hitting on 3s. He hits, oh it's 4, sorry, because it's Power Fist, and he's wounding on Power Fist wound on 2s. Wounds, and it's no save as well for Calcius, so that means Calcius now takes a wound. So let's grab ourselves a wound marker here. He doesn't need it anymore. And let's plonk that on Calcius there. So he's taken 1 wound now, Calcius. And that is now the end of turn 2. So let's move on to turn 3 for the Death Guard. So what I'm going to do is get the Poxwalkers into this combat here. They get to move 4 inches before they charge. So that is pretty close to there. So they're very unlikely to fail this charge. Of course, Calcius is locked in combat, so that means he won't get to fire any Overwatch. Yeah, it's only a 2-inch charge, so they can't fail this charge at all. But let's roll the dice anyway. Wow, 11 inches. So that means they all get to get in there on Calcius, basically. Or Gideon, rather. I keep calling him Calcius. I need to remember to call him Gideon. There we go. So this is the combat now. I'll spin the board round for the first time in this battle report, so we can get a better view here of how outnumbered Calcius or Gideon is. So I've spun the board round there. Let's shove the dice tray there. So now the Poxwalkers will be attacking first. The Poxwalkers will attack first, and they get 2 attacks each in combat. And they will be hitting on 5-ups. 2, there are 5 Poxwalkers, so that's 10 attacks altogether. So they're hitting on 5-ups. 1, 2, 3, only 3 hits there from those 10 attacks. So not ideal for the Poxwalkers. And to wound Gideon, they will need 5-ups as well. 1 wound on Gideon, but he does get his 3-up save against that. So Gideon now with a 3-up save. He fails it, you can see just there. So that is 2 wounds on Gideon now. I will plonk them on top of the container there to remember that there's 2 wounds on Gideon. So he fails that, but he does get to attack back now, and he will attack the Plague Marine because the Plague Marine hasn't yet attacked. However, no, because it's the Death Guard turn, the Plague Marine will get to attack first. Because what you do, if we remember the combat phase rightly, you attack with any units that charge first, and then you attack with a unit each, starting with the player whose turn it is. Because it's the Death Guard player's turn, the Plague Marine will get to attack with his Power Fist first, or his Plague Knife. I think I'm going to go with the Power Fist again. It's hitting on 4s. Hits. And it's wounding on 2s. It wounds with a roll of 2. So there's no save against that. So that means that is 3 wounds taken by Lieutenant Gideon now. So he's on his last remaining wound. But he does get to attack now in combat. He's going to... here's the thing. Should he put all the attacks into the Plague Marine? Or should he put 2 into the Plague Marine, 2 into the Poxwalkers? I think, for me, I'll put 2 into the Plague Marine, to try and see him off first, and then 2 into the Poxwalkers. So he's going to be hitting on 2s. Oh, he fails 1 hit, but he does get the other one, and he's going to be wounding on 5s. Fails to wound, so that's the Plague Marine still alive into the next round of combat. This could be very dangerous for Gideon. So now he gets 2 attacks into the Poxwalkers, hitting on 2s. 2 hits, and he's going to be wounding the Poxwalkers on 3s. Oh, 2 fail to wound. However, 2 fail to wound get to re-roll, because you re-roll all wound rolls of 1 for models within 6 inches of a lieutenant, and he is within 6 inches of himself. So re-roll those wounds. 1 fails again, but another 1 is successful. So it's a 5-up disgusting and resilient required by the Poxwalker now, which they fail. So that is one of the Poxwalkers. I'll take this guy out. So yeah, that's a 5-up disgusting and resilient failed. And now it's on to turn 3 for the Imperial Fists. Right, let me think now. I think the only thing to do here is charge in with the Intercessors into the Poxwalkers. They're going to move up first, or they could charge into this guy to try and take him out, and then allow Gideon to deal with the Poxwalkers. Yeah, I think that's what they'll do. They get a 6-inch move to start. They get to move up to here. And then that is a 4-inch charge. About a 4-inch charge there. So let's roll 2 dice to see if they can make that charge. They do make that charge with 7 inches. So they're running round now into the Plague Marine. Trying to make sure they stay an inch away from the Poxwalkers there, which they do. And now the Intercessors will attack first. The Intercessors get 2 attacks in close combat, and they will be hitting on 3s. Oh my word, 2 fail to hit, but 2 successful hits. They'll be wounding on 5s, re-rolling 1s because of the Lieutenant. They fail both wounds, so that is on to Gideon's turn now. He's going to put... Now here's a tricky thing. Should he put all of his attacks into the Plague Marine, or should he again split his attacks? Because he's going to be taking attacks from the Poxwalkers if he doesn't take... Oh, it's a tricky one. What I probably should have done is charge the Intercessors into the Poxwalkers, because they were more likely to wound them. Here's what I'll do. I'll do the same as before. I'm going to roll 2 attacks into the Plague Marine, hitting on 2s. 1 failed to hit again, so he's got a wound on a 5. That is a wound of 5, and it's a 6-up save for the Plague Marine. Fails to save, and it's a 5-up disgusting and resilient. Oh, he makes the disgusting and resilient, so he gets to attack back. Absolutely unbelievable stuff here in Imperial Fist turn 3. So the Plague Marine now will attack back with his Power Fist again, hitting on 4s. He fails to hit. Unbelievable. So it's up to the Poxwalkers now to try and take out Lieutenant Gideon. They will be getting 8 attacks because there's 4 of them left, and they'll be hitting on 5s. That is only 1 hit. Absolutely diabolical rolling there from the Poxwalkers. So they hit on 5s, and they will be wounding on 5s. Oh, it's a 4. It's a failure to wound, so it's on to Death Guard. Turn 4. If I can find the 4 on the dice. There we go, Death Guard turn 4. Oh, you can't see that anyway. Let's move it down there, shall we? Lovely. So now, it is the turn of the Death Guard. Should I put 8 attacks into Gideon, or should I put the Power Fist attack into Gideon again first? I'm going to put 8 attacks of the Poxwalkers into Gideon, because they're more likely to do some damage, even though they're only hitting and wounding on 5s. 8 attacks into Gideon, hitting on 5s. That is only 1 hit again. Absolutely terrible rolling. Wounding on 5s. Fails to wound. Diabolical. So now it's up to Gideon to try and take out the Plague Marine there with 4 attacks. He's hitting on 2s. He hits with all of them. He's wounding on 5s. Wounds with one of them, but a reroll on this one as well. And it's just 1 wound then. And then he's going to require the Death Guard is going to require a 6-up save because of the power weapon. It's a save! Unbelievable! He makes a save, so he gets to attack back, hitting on 4s. He hits. He's going to be wounding on 2s. He wounds just... He hits on a 4, he wounds on a 2, and then it's going to be a no save for Gideon. So you know what that means, don't you? In turn 4, for the Death Guard, or for the Imperial Fist actually, turn 4, that means Gideon is gone. Gideon is deceased. No more. Kaput. Yeah, so that's game over. The Death Guard win this one. Absolutely amazing scenes here on the cargo deck of the Fury of Inwit. Yep. Unbelievable stuff. Let's take a look at the battlefield. This was a fun little battle. I think when you introduce characters, it makes things a little bit more interesting. And the we actually use the extra rules here. So against characters, those extra rules like the Power Fist become really interesting in my opinion. The Imperial Fist here, they failed. Their lieutenant is dead. Is no more. So let's move to me wrapping it up. I almost forgot, guys, we actually have extra rules for this mission. These rules, there's 2 new extra rules for the Death Guard player and then 1 for the Space Marine player. So these rules make it more likely, if anything, that the Death Guard side will win. Just to go through the extra rules briefly, one of them is about the Power Fist. It gives us a 4+ to hit, which we already had, a 2+ to wound we already had, no armor save against it, but then it does 1 to 3 wounds instead of just your 1 wound, so it does even more wounds. Against those high wound models like the Lieutenant Gideon there, it's more likely to take him out of action more quickly. And then also Repugnus gets an extra attack in the fight phase, so again, against tough models like your character models, it's going to take them out of action or enable you to take them out of action in fewer rounds of combat, you would have thought. So, yeah, let's see what the Imperial Fist player or the Space Marine player gets. Models carrying pistols can make a single attack in the shooting phase against units within 1 inch, even when locked in combat. So basically, the pistol models in a regular game of 40k can shoot in combat as long as you're locked in. You're shooting the nearest enemy model. Yeah, you can shoot in combat. So that's a little extra buff for the Space Marine player. But it seems to me the Death Guard player will gain an extra advantage here. Let's roll off to see who deploys first. And the Space Marine player will deploy first this time. Yeah, I'll come back once I've deployed. So as you can see now, guys, I've deployed the models like so. I figure the Space Marine player, Calcius, I'm going to try and keep him at the back as long as possible rather than send him up to face his opponents. And the Intercessors will take the brunt of the attack from the Death Guard. So I deployed Calcius here first. The Death Guard deployed over here to try and get to Calcius as quick as possible. The Intercessors are going to try and intercept some of the Death Guard models there. But the Plague Marines deployed, the Poxwalkers deployed after the Intercessors in the middle to try and block any charge that the Intercessors might want to get into the Death Guard Plague Marines. Yes, so it's going to be an interesting one this time, seeing how the battle unfolds differently. And I will be trying to play slightly differently in order to try and gain a victory for the Imperial Fist in this instance. But we'll see how it unfolds, shall we? Yes. So, on to the first turn. I'll come back after movement. So this is how it looks after the Death Guard movement. The Plague Marines and Poxwalkers both advance. The Plague Marines really want to get to Calcius before the Intercessors can do anything, but let's come back again after Imperial Fist movement phase. Basically, the Imperial Fist movement phase, Gideon, the Lieutenant, has moved behind the container here, and then the Intercessors have moved to try and take some shots at the Plague Marines, which they'll do now with their rapid-fire bolt guns. They are hitting on 3s. and they will be re-rolling any ones to wound, but there are no ones to hit anyway. There's one miss though, 1, 2, and they will be wounding on, turn that the other way, they'll be wounding on 5s. There is a 1 there to wound, so that's re-rolled. That is 4 wounds there, very impressive from the Imperial Fist first round of shooting. 4 wounds to be saved by the Death Guard. 1 failed, so that needs a Disgusting and Resilient roll now. I'll just move these out the way as well. Disgusting and Resilient roll of a 5 up, or there's a dead Plague Marine. It's a save. There we go. So the Death Guard take it into turn 2. So with the Death Guard, you can see the Poxwalkers have moved up to here. They're going to attempt to charge. I've measured it. It's a 9-inch charge to Lieutenant Gideon there. And the Plague Marines over here, they're getting dangerously close to these Intercessors. They're going to try and take out the Intercessors, although let's see if they can just see Gideon. Oh yeah, 2 of them can see Gideon. So 2 of them will be able to shoot Gideon if they choose to. Let's just give you a good idea there. Yeah, 2 of them can see Gideon there. So, will 2 of them shoot at Gideon? Although we don't actually know any split fire rules, so what I'm going to do is just shoot at the Intercessors with them and try and get rid of those pesky Intercessors before they can do any damage. So, into the shooting phase, or onto the shooting phase rather, for the Plague Marines. The bolt gun guy is going to shoot first. He's going to hit on 3s, and he's going to wound on 4s. He wounds, so the Intercessors need to make a 3-up save. Saved. And onto the plasma gun guy now. He's going to hit on 3s. He hits. He's going to wound on 2s. He wounds. It's a 3-up save now for the Intercessor. Saved. And onto the Black Launcher fella. He's going to hit on 3s. He misses anyway. So now it's on to the charge phase. The charge phase for these Poxwalkers here who want to try and charge into Calcius there. They need a 10-inch charge. Let's see if they can make it. There's no Overwatch because he's not got line of sight to them. Nope, that's a 5-inch charge. They do not get to move then. They stay there. So it's on to turn 2 for the Imperial Fists now. So as you can see, the Imperial Fists have repositioned slightly. The Intercessors here blocking the path of the Plague Marine still. And Lieutenant Gideon's moved over to the left to make that charge a little bit more difficult. In fact, I'm going to move him all the way over to the left there, as far as he can go with a 6-inch move. So that is right over to this wall here. So now Lieutenant Gideon is going to shoot into the Plague Marines. And he is going to hit with his pistol on 3s. And he fails it. So straight onto the Intercessor shooting. They are going to they're going to shoot the they're going to shoot the Poxwalkers now to try and thin the herd of Poxwalkers. So they're going to hit on 3s, and that's 3 hits only. There we go, and they are going to wound on 3s as well. That is only 1 wound and no reroll on that one because it was a 2, not a 1. Sorry, 2 wounds, not 1. And it's 2 5-up saves for Disgusting and Resilient for the Poxwalkers. Both failed, so those Poxwalkers now will be thinned down slightly. Take these 2 away. And it's on to Death Guard, turn 3. So that is the end of the movement phase for the Death Guard. You can see the Poxwalkers have moved up here. They're going to try and charge these Intercessors to occupy the Intercessors and hope that the Plague Marines will be able to sneak round the back and get to Gideon. However, that remains to be seen whether they'll be able to do that for enough turns for the Poxwalkers to get there and take out Gideon. The Plague Marines, rather, to get there and take out Gideon, because these guys have just advanced, so they're not going to be able to charge this turn or anything. So it's on to the charge phase. That's it, yeah, because there's no shooting because the Plague Marines advance. So it's 2 dice, and it is like a 3-inch charge. They're going to struggle to fail that. That was a drop dice there. They are going to get in on 3s. Yep, there we go. So it's a 9-inch charge from the Poxwalkers, and they'll move in. And so it's going to be 8 attacks for the Poxwalkers. and they are hitting on 5s. That is 2 hits only, and they're going to wound the Space Marines on 5s. No, one wound, and it's a 3-up save for the Space Marine Intercessor. Makes it. So now the Intercessors will attack back, of course. They get 2 attacks each. They're going to be hitting on 3s. All hit, and they are going to be wounding on 3s as well. Ooh, 1 failed to wound, 2 failed to wound, but 1 reroll there because they are within 6 inches of the Lieutenant. So that's 5 wounds. So 5 ups. That is 1 5 up, but 4 means there's only 4 of them left, so they're taken out of action. And of course, if the Space Marines want, they can consolidate. Do they want to consolidate? That's the question. They will just move back around Calcius. They've backed him into the corner here, and yeah, that's their consolidation move. They're just going to drop back around Calcius so that the Plague Marines cannot get in there. It's on to Imperial Fist's turn 3 now. They are going to take 6 shots into the Death Guard, and they're going to hit on 3s. That is 2 misses. They're going to wound on 5s. Rerolling 1s. That's going to be a reroll. No wounds. So the Death Guard live to see another day. And the Poxwalkers will redeploy over here in their turn. So as you can see now, the Poxwalkers have redeployed as per the instructions in the mission here. So they're going to advance 3 inches, so that's a 7-inch movement this turn. And the Plague Marines are going to move back over that way. They're going to have to take on the Intercessors, aren't they? So this is how it looks after movement. The Death Guard now are going to shoot into the Intercessors. So starting off with the Bolter guy as usual, he's going to hit on 3s. And he's going to wound on 4s rather. Fails to wound, and it's onto the Plasma guy, he's going to hit on 3s. He hits, he's going to wound on 2s. He wounds, and it's a 3-up save for the Imperial Fist player. He makes a save, and it's onto the Blight Launcher then. He hitting on 3s. He hits, he's going to wound on 4s. Wounds, and it's a 5-up save now for the Imperial Fist. Oh, get that one back in here. It fails to save, so we'll put a wound marker onto one of these Imperial Fists. Why not this one, eh? So now it's on to the charge phase for the Death Guard. It's a 3-inch charge approximately, so I'll just go straight to that now. Grab some Death Guard dice. Oh, that's 5 inches there anyway, and there's another 3, so that is going to be 8 inches altogether. So the Death Guard will be attacking first because they just made the charge. So the 2 normal Death Guard attacks, there's 2 without any specialist close combat weapons, and of course there's Repugnus with his specialist close combat weapon. So we get 2 normal attacks, so these are going to be hitting on 3s. Oh, both failed to hit, absolute disaster. But now it's on to Repugnus with his 2 Power Fist attacks. 1 attack is going to go on the guy with a wound already, and another attack is going to go on the next guy. So I'll roll them 1 at a time. He's going to hit on 3s, 4s rather. He fails to hit with the first one, so the next attack goes on to, well, it'll go on to the same guy in this instance, will it? I think it's a little bit tricky this, because I've just declared my attacks divided, but then you're supposed to put wounds onto the same models. I'm not sure how to deal with that, to be honest. I guess the attack goes onto the unit in the first instance, doesn't it? So I'm just going to make another attack now and then decide what to do then. So he's hitting on 4s. He hits, and he's going to wound on 2s. He wounds. No save, but it's a D3 damage. D3 damage is 2 damage, meaning this guy will be dead. Now, it's 2 damage, but the attacks only went on 1 guy. So I think that means we don't put any wounds on these 2 guys here. So I'm not going to put any wounds on them. the other damage is lost as far as I'm aware. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, please. So, on to the Space Marine returning attacks. So, Space Marine attacks, they get 4. They're going to hit on 3s. Ooh, 2 misses. They're going to wound. They're going to wound on 5s. Rerolling 1s, but there's no 1s there. So that's a 3-up save for the Death Guard player. That's a save. So it's on to Space Marine turn 3. So the objective for the Space Marines is to keep the Lieutenant alive. So on turn 3, what I'm going to do is advance him over to this corner, so he's further away from those Poxwalkers coming to get him there. So he gets 2 inches additional movement, so that's just going to be an 8-inch move handily. I've got my 8-inch movement device here, so he's going to move back to there basically, back to his original deployment there. Now no one can see him, but these Death Guard, if they kill these guys, they could potentially consolidate. Will they kill the guys though? It remains to be seen, I guess, doesn't it? So it's on to the Space Marines combat phase now, and they're getting 4 attacks. They are just out of range now, I think, actually, thinking about it. Just out of range of the Lieutenant. They are within range, so they will still get the effect of the re-rolling 1s to wound. So they're going to get 4 attacks, and they are going to hit on 3s. That is 2 hits again. So they can't wipe out the Death Guard here. They're going to wound on 5s, re-rolling 1s. Oh, 1 failed and 1 re-roll. Another failed wound. So now the Death Guard will attack them back, of course. So I'm going to attack, first of all, with the normal attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s. Oh. 2 wounds. So the intercessors now need to make 2 saves. 3 ups. Both saved. And now the Death Guard player is going to put in 2 attacks, hitting on 3s. These are with the Power Fist, hitting on 4s, sorry. Both hit. They're going to wound on 2s. Both wound. There's no save against the Power Fist, so if I can do 2 damage here on each of these dice, these D3, then it's going to be 2 dead intercessors. That is 1 plus, I've only done 3 damage basically, so there's 1 dead intercessor and 1 more wound on this intercessor. If I can find my wound token, so that intercessor gets a wound on him as well. So it's on to Death Guard turn 4 now. I'm going to do the movement and come back to you. So as you can see, after the movement in Death Guard turn 4, the Poxwalkers have moved further up the battlefield. They're going to charge into this guy now. It is a 3-inch charge, so that's what they need, 3 inches with 2 dice. They get it. So I'm going to attack with the Poxwalkers first of all, so that's 10 attacks. 2, 4, 9. It's 12 attacks actually. 10, 11. I seem to be a green dice down, so what I'm going to do is pick up a white dice. They're going to hit on 5s. That is only 3 hits. Quite disappointing there. So it's 3 hits. Let's just grab these 3 dice here. And they are going to wound on 5s as well. That's 2 wounds though, fantastic. 2 wounds, and it's going to be 3 up saves for the intercessor. 2 saves made though, so the Death Guard have to do the dirty work now. And it's on 2. I'll do the Power Fist attacks first, just to see if we can take him out with the Power Fist. 2 attacks hitting on 4s. 1 hits, 1 fails, and it's going to be wounding on 2s. Wounds, no save. It's going to be at least 1 damage, so that's a dead intercessor basically. So let's remove him. And now there's a consolidation move for each of these Death Guard units. They're of course going to move close to, but not be within 1 inch of the lieutenant there. Yeah, so that's just an inch away, just over an inch away rather. So there we go. That is it. On to the next. I suppose what I should do in that instance is sort of string them out and then just move these along a little bit better. So they've both got I've got 2 chances then to charge with movement and everything. Yes, there we go. So now it's on to Space Marine turn 4. The question is, what should Calcius do? If he advances, he's gonna get to like here maximum, so they can still get round that way, or they can come round this way in the movement phase. It's a little tricky. Is he just gonna run away? I think he's just gonna run away. Yeah, that is what I'm gonna do. Yeah, if he runs away, it makes them less likely to be able to charge. But even if they get into the charge, you've got to take 4 wounds off him, which isn't going to be easy. So he's going to advance. 1 inch. Oh, disaster. Disaster strikes. He's only going to get 7 inches of movement. Let's just measure that for you now. So 7 inches gets him to just there, which probably actually is the best place for him to be. Because it's like round this container either way, it's the furthest he can be from these guys. But of course in their next turn they're going to be able to move up there, and these guys move down here if they want to, and then they're probably going to catch him. But we'll see. He's advanced and that's the end of his turn. So it's on to Death Guard turn 5 now. I'll do this as the last battle round, just to make it... No, we'll see. If they get into combat, I'll continue the combat until turn 6. So, onto the movement. I'll do that now and come back to you. So as you can see, the Death Guard units have moved. The Plague Marines move around that side of the container, and the Poxwalkers down the bottom of the container here. He can't actually see any Poxwalkers, so what I'm going to do is try and charge with the Poxwalkers first. Let's measure that distance out and see what their charge distance is. That is 1, 2, 3 to there. 5 inches, just to get to Lieutenant Gideon there. 5 inches, come on. Oh no, of course, first, the thing I forgot is the Plague Marines will get to shoot at Calcius first. Completely forgot about that. So I'll do that first. I'll do it with the Bolter guy first, hitting on 3s. And he's going to be wounding on 5s. 4s rather. Fails to wound. And then the Plasma guy, should I shoot with the Plasma guy? Because if I shoot with him, he's my Power Fist guy. It's Repugnus that's got the plasma gun. So if I shoot with him and he wipes himself out before he gets into combat, that could be a disaster. So what I'm going to do is forego the shooting with the with Repugnus and the plasma gun. Instead, I'm going to shoot with the Blight Launcher now, and he's going to hit on 3s. He hits. He's going to wound on 4s. He wounds, and it's a 5-up save for Calcius. Otherwise, he will suffer a wound. He fails to save, so he takes 1 wound there. Let's get myself a wound marker. Wahey! There's your wound marker. I've put it on the edge of the battlefield there like that. So he's down 1 wound, down to 3 left. Let's see if the Poxwalkers can make it into combat with him. It's 5-inch charge for them. They make that with 7 inches. So that means he can't now fire Overwatch against the Plague Marines when they charge. Not that he would have been likely to have done any damage, but yeah, it's just makes it a little bit more difficult for him. The Poxwalkers there, struggling to get into combat. Let's turn this round slightly and see now. I'll measure this out for you to see if the Plague Marines get in, or if they have to wait another turn before they get in. It's going to be a 4-inch charge for the Plague Marines. Pretty easy one, but you never know, they might fail it. They might get a 2 or a 3. They get a 3. Absolute disaster for the Plague Marines. Calcius is tied up for a round of combat at least, but the Poxwalkers are struggling to get the attacks in there, but they will pile in. 12 attacks for the Poxwalkers, and they're going to be hitting on 5s. That is 1, 2, 3 successes. Let's get rid of them. And they're going to be wounding on 5s. 3 failures. Absolutely terrible. But Calcius is locked in combat now. I'll take it to turn 6 just to see what happens here. Cassius will, of course, get to fight back, though, first. He gets 4 attacks. He's going to hit on 3s, or 2s, rather. He's hitting on 2s. He gets... Oh, that's a disaster. He only gets 2 hits. He's going to be wounding on 3s. Oh, 2 fail to wound, but he gets to re-roll them because of his special rule. 1 wound at least, and it's going to be a 5 up disgusting and resilient for the Poxwalker. Fails it, so that's 1 dead Poxwalker. Let's move this guy to make that charge a little bit easier for the Plague Marines if they come in next turn. So yeah, that's the end of turn 5. So Cassius has survived to turn 5. If I was playing this to turn 5, it would be game over and an Imperial Fist victory. But just out of interest, I'm going to play it to turn 6, see if that makes any difference at all. So it's on to Death Guard, turn 6. So as you can see now, the Death Guard Plague Marines aren't messing about here. They're getting close enough to be able to not fail the charge. So they're going to roll 2 dice and see if they can get into charge. They're going to get in 4 inches only, but yeah, they get in nonetheless. They need to be within 1 inch to be able to attack. They are all just within 1 inch now, because that's a 25mm base, so this guy is within 1 inch of him. I'll start with the 2 Death Guard attacks, and they will be hitting on 3s. 1 hit, 1 failed, and they will be wounding on 5s. Fails to wound. Now it's going to be the Power Fist. He's going to be hitting on 3s. 4s rather, not 3s. I keep forgetting that. And he's going to be wounding on 2s. Wounds, and there's no save against that. He gets a D3 damage. Now if I roll a 5 or a 6 here, Cassius is dead. 6! Cassius is dead in turn 6. So that's 2 victories for the Death Guard. Absolutely fantastic turnaround since the last battle report. So guys, it's a Death Guard victory. 2-0 in this episode of my Conquest series show, where I'm showing you through the, guiding you through the tutorial missions within Conquest. These missions are really cool, and it seemed like the Imperial Fists were going to dominate after last week's mission, but I think the key to this mission was they only have Gideon and the 3 intercessors. Whilst Gideon's a really cool character, you need more units around him for him to be super effective. So if we had the Reavers and Gideon and the intercessors, the Reavers, imagine them, they get 9 attacks in close combat. Gideon only gets 4 attacks in close combat. So imagine rolling to wound. You're wounding the Poxwalkers on 3s, you're wounding the Plague Marines on 5s, but you're re-rolling all your 1s to wound with the Reavers when you've had 9 attacks. It's the multiplying effect of having multiple units that really make characters important. So that's something to learn. What else did we learn? The Poxwalkers aren't that survival rule. I think it was on last week's video. I imagine it was Restless Kaiser from Modelling for Advantage. Check out their channel. I think it was him that said Poxwalkers die easily. Yes, Poxwalkers die easily. When you've got an endless horde, though, or greater numbers of Poxwalkers, they become that vital unit in the game, or they can become that vital unit in the game. So a unit of 6 Poxwalkers might not be that effective, but imagine a unit of 12 Poxwalkers or 2 units of 10 Poxwalkers, something like that. They are a lot harder to kill in a single turn of combat or shooting, and they're more likely to tie up your opponent's units for another round of combat, or be a little bit more stubborn a little bit more difficult to remove from an objective. So in the actual full game of 40k, Poxwalkers are a lot more useful than in these little tutorial missions. Yeah, the power weapon, now the Power Fist, is powered up to close to what it should be, if not fully what it should be. It really came into its own with that extra attack, because he made attacks with it a few times, but only hit with it once, or only wounded with it once. But because of that D3 damage, it was vital, especially in that last turn against Lieutenant Gideon. So it was, yeah, it proved vital. In the last turn against Gideon, if Repugnus had failed to get 3 wounds off of Gideon in the last turn, it would have been up to the Poxwalkers, and throughout the course of the battle they proved less than reliable already. in terms of getting wounds and causing damage to their opponents. So in greater numbers, the Poxwalkers will be more effective, but thankfully because we're getting more rules to do with specialist weapons, we're getting closer to the game proper. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what we do next time. It's going to be Squad Warfare Revisited, so make sure you tune in next week for Tutorial Mission 5. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Don't forget you can support the channel if you'd like to. You just check out the link in the description below to my Patreon account. You can pledge at a $1 level, $5 level or $12 level. The $12 pledges go to supporting my Mortal Realms videos, as do the other pledges, of course, but anything that's left over after Mortal Realms will be going into supporting the channel. Yeah, make sure you like the video if you liked it. Press my little bell button if you want to be notified when a video of mine goes live. And I'll see you on the battlefield.